Okay. Okay. So good afternoon. This open meeting of the Board of Appeals is being conducted hybrid pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. So the Board of Appeals is convening in person and by video conference using Zoom as Sure. Where are my MMD resources? MMD resources. Okay. All right, so the Board of Appeals is convening in person and using the Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. And all supporting materials that are provided to the members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted, and public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. Okay. So I'm going to call to order the regular monthly Town of Nantucket Zoning Board of Appeals matter. Today is November 14th, 2024, and it is 1:02. Would someone make a motion to approve the agenda as drafted?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so John Brescher makes that motion, Elisa Allen seconds. We can also use this to do attendance. Is anyone on Zoom or is everyone? Okay. I'll start with John,
Aye.
Elisa,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Lisa Botticelli,
Aye.
and myself, aye. And just for the record, Michael O'Meara is present, but in the audience at the moment, and Jim Mondani is present. Are we missing anyone?
Mark Poor is missing.
Okay, and no Mark Poor. Okay. At this time, we have the public comment section for items not listed on the agenda or reasonably anticipated to be discussed today. Is there anyone in the audience who has anything for public comment? No. Anyone on Zoom with their hand up?
No one online.
Okay. So now we're going to move to approval of the minutes. So the October 17th minutes, did anybody have any comments on those? No. Okay. I did not get a chance to read over those at this time.
If you want to wait, we do have a meeting next Wednesday. I could throw them on at the beginning of that.
Yeah, let's
or we
wait.
could-
Let's wait on the 17th just because I didn't get a chance to read those. But
Okay.
so the minutes for 10/22, those I did have a comment on. So on page 13 in the packet, the last page of the minutes, when it says under the board on the last block, I must have misread this when we were drafting them. So where it says reviewed Jim Mondani's email directed to the chair and town administration, agreeing that the points presented regarding the necessity for special counsel were sufficient. So that I'm the one who used the word sufficient, and I was talking about his answers to question 3 and 4 about scope and cost. So we didn't really discuss those two questions in large detail. Everyone sort of agreed that those answers were sufficient, that we weren't looking for anything sort of outside of what town council would do for us. So I think that needs to be corrected. And then, and just to clarify that, because my perception was that, or my understanding was that we were, the memo represented Jim's reasonings why he thought we needed those, and then the board discussed, and we came up with the answers that are in the rest of the minutes. So am I remembering that correctly?
Oh, that was my understanding, that we were okay on part of it, and that we were attaching the memo as a reference, not that we were endorsing the entire memo.
Yeah, that's my reference, that's my recommendation too, because I wouldn't have voted to approve it. No, I'm not. These are the minutes, and I specifically said to the board that I thought my,
We're not gonna rediscuss this.
No,
wanna
we're-
just know if it's.
we're just talking about the minutes, Jim, and I'm saying that I specifically said 3 and 4, those answers that you provided were, in my opinion, were sufficient for what what should be presented to the select board. So that's my correction there.
I'd like
that-
to go back and listen and verify that. I don't. Yeah, because this goes to a big point of contention, which we don't need to go into.
Well, John's saying his recollection is the same.
Great,
Did anyone
that's-
else?
that's great.
Does anyone else? Oh, yeah, that's right. So all I'm saying is that we did not endorse carte blanche the entire memo and all of the points that you said. Those are your opinion, but we did not.
I just want to know, do these reflect the actual what was said or not? Not what was meant, not all that. We can certainly go through this at another time, but you're trying to change it to get a certain thing in. That's the
No, I'm
extent
not. I
that you
just-
are going to.
No, I'm not, Jim.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Thank you.
I drafted the minutes with Relisha Dixon.
Yeah.
If you read them, we did them in order. So
Yeah.
everyone's comments were taken in order as we went through the questions 1 through 4. I believe that generalized comment at the back end was in regards to 3 and 4 because every member elaborated on how they felt about questions 1 and 2, which didn't skew far from Jim's email. However, they weren't verbatim.
Yeah, that's the only thing. So I'm just saying, I'm the one I said sufficient, and so that was referencing 3 and 4, not all of it. So that's.
I think you produce these things based on what you saw, and you're saying that that's not what was said? I mean,
No, I'm
correction
saying
to-
I said
A
it.
correction to meeting minutes is like, you misquote, I said actually this, not that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You're saying, well, what I really meant is.
No, I'm not saying what I really meant. I'm saying what I said was questions 3 and 4 were sufficient, I thought, and the board, I believe, agreed. So that's what that was. If
You believe. Well,
I'm not speaking I was just about to say in the next part of that, if the rest of the board says to me that you believe that we voted and agree with the meat of the entire memo, but for this specific sentence that says sufficient, I'm the one who used that word, I'm the one who said it, and it was in reference to 3 and 4. Staff?
I think that we should table this because
Okay.
this goes to what Susan's trying to do, and we need to talk about it because she did something that I believe we didn't authorize
Which is-
specifically, and we authorized something else. and
To the minutes?
It's all this.
We're just
obfuscation.
discussing the minutes right now, Jim.
Right,
Just
but
the minutes.
that's what you're getting at, though.
No, I'm not. I'm saying
Yeah,
that.
you are.
Okay, well,
what?
I would love to, I'll meet with Relitza with my notes, her notes, and I'd love to see her notes, and we can,
She's away this week.
That's fine.
So
It can
she'll
wait.
be back next week.
Sure, sure.
And
We
I
can wait.
definitely,
Who's back on?
Relisha is the
minute taker.
administrative specialist who's
I
been
mean,
doing
this
the
is the
minutes.
extent that they're going to do the things.
just
they
say
wanna
what
do,
you want to
just so
say,
you
Jim,
know.
whatever you're trying to say, because I'm talking about minutes and just,
We are talking about minutes,
Then-
but what you're trying to change is something more than just the wording.
okay, well, no, I'm trying to add the words questions 3 and 4, or relative to scope and cost, if that's more accurate, but whatever, we can revisit it. Does anyone else have any comments on the minutes? No, I didn't get a chance to read the ones on the 17th, and, I mean, we can unless,
Yeah, that's
sure,
fine.
yeah, whatever, that's fine. Okay, moving on. I don't think so.
No, not
No, we'll
necessarily,
just-
but I would say I'll definitely be able to get 1017 on, but if 1120 is going to
If it's gonna
require,
require, no, let's just wait.
it may not be till December. I could put both of them on for December. Both sets of minutes.
No, they're ready. They're the 17th, they're ready. I just didn't have it, I just didn't,
That's what I'm saying, why don't we vote on them
Okay,
next meeting, next week?
okay,
Get those off.
yeah, I agree.
okay.
Okay. Okay.
And I would
Moving-
request that the board
Jim,
review that.
you're not, I'm not, we're moving on. To old business. So the first one is 2524 Surfside Crossing LLC. That has continued to, we have a special meeting next week on the 20th at 1 PM in this building, right, in this room? Okay.
And I also just want to say the meeting posting for that should be up at 2, an updated meeting posting, and it lays out the schedule moving forward with that as well as the regular meeting schedule.
Great, thank you. Okay, so would someone make a motion to continue that to November 20th?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Elisa, that was you?
Yes.
Okay. When I call your name, if you're in favor, please say aye. Elisa?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Joe? Myself, I, and Lisa.
Aye.
Okay. So next we're on to 1824, 43 West Myacomet LLC, 43 West Myacomet Road. Is Attorney Cohen on Zoom to present, or is Attorney Bell?
I'm moving over Jesse Bell. I don't see, I got Stephen. I'm moving
Okay.
him over.
Great, and did everyone get a chance to print out the additional?
I did, I can share the additional information on the screen as well. I did save this stuff so we can pull it up.
I didn't either, but I did look at it.
I printed it, but the print is kind of small, so that would be helpful. Okay, so Steve and Jesse, whichever one of you wants to go first, the floor is
Hi,
yours.
Susan, it's Stephen Cohen.
Hi.
I will present. We'll keep
Okay.
it really simple. The board was looking for less impervious surface, which we've accomplished by shrinking the deck and eliminating the retaining wall and changing the patio surface and changing the size of the shed to a smaller shed, which we've also moved the location to get it away from the native vegetation as requested. So we basically, by shrinking we've got less decking around the house than we used to, than is existing, and the shed pushes it over slightly by like 58 feet, which I think is basically a zero nominal change, and certainly not a change that impacts any of the bylaw, which I could go through all of them, but I'll skip it at the moment. And then we've changed the the new septic area, so that it's going to be a once a year mowed meadow, just to keep away the shrubbery that would impact the septic system, but keep that a native mowed meadow. And then we've reduced the changes to the driveway so that it'll just retain the native the plants of the current interest. Jesse's here if you want to go through any of the numbers, but I believe that you have plans that show all the numbers that I'm talking about, and that we've essentially addressed the concerns that were raised. We've also submitted a new list of proposed conditions that we think are thoroughly exhaustive of all of the changes that the commission wanted.
Okay, thank you. Lisa has a question.
You just go to the part of the plan that lists out all the impervious materials. Yeah. I just can't, hard to read.
I didn't hear that question.
She was looking for to see the list of the impervious materials. Billy, I
So,
mean, Lisa.
We just have an aggregate number there, which includes all the impervious you know,
Jesse, can you
items.
speak up a little bit?
Sorry, is that better?
Yes.
So we just have the aggregate number there. I wonder, is Dan Malloy on on?
Yes, Dan is on. I'll move him over.
So 1932. Reduce by back 8 years ago. 10, 20, 180. So it's 1932, 10, 20, 180. Did I get all the numbers?
Yeah, the dwelling 1932, so same as existing, and then going from 1142 to 1020 in impervious surface area.
So we've reduced the surface area around the house to, and then it increases at the shed, but we've shrunk the size of the shed. So we're within 58 feet of a zero net change, which I think is a pretty nominal change. And again, there is no requirement for no change. And if you look at other applications, we're well within what the board has approved, what the planning board and zoning board has approved at other houses and what's existing. So I think this is, very responsive to the board's prior requests.
May I ask a question, Mr. Sun?
Sure.
So the original application, number 1, it was on page 34 of our packet, says demolish existing house of 1932 square feet and 1,077 square feet of decking and replace it with a new dwelling of less ground cover at 1,900 square feet. So that's numbers gone up to 1932, correct? And with less decking of about 1,066 square feet.
That's correct, Lisa.
So you changed the architecture to increase it to exactly where it is today,
Yes.
rather than reducing it to the 1900.
Yeah, I actually think that was just a correction, but yes.
So Dan, can you tell us what the existing impervious material square footage is on the whole site today?
The whole site today, let me grab a calculator, it's the ground cover of 1932 plus the 1142, so 3,074. And just a quick, I can help answer the correction question on the ground cover. What happened there, there was a second floor portion of a part of the second floor of the building actually went over a deck roof and counted as ground cover, which is why it wasn't included the first round. The building has not expanded.
Got it. Is there any reason that you can't get to the 3,074?
Well, you mean to eliminate another 58 square feet instead of the several hundred that we've just eliminated?
You didn't, well, I don't see the several hundred you eliminated. You eliminated the pool, which is obviously
Well,
several
yeah,
hundred.
we eliminated the pool, we changed the material of the patio, we eliminated the wall, we eliminated the step on the shed, we shrank the size of the shed, and we cut the deck by 18 inches all along the length of it, which created a significant reduction. So, could we cut more physically? Yes, but I think in practical terms, there's really no impact. It would become more impactful on the house, but doesn't impact the environment in any way. We're not, there's no scenic impact of another couple of that 58 square feet. There's no, impact on the native species of that 58 square feet. And again, I'm extremely hesitant to get into this fake rule of there being a zero net change requirement. That's just not simply the case. And I think by getting within 58 square feet of a zero net change is extremely responsive, because before we were over by several hundred square feet that we have cut.
I guess I don't see the several hundred square feet, so.
Well, we cut a huge amount off the deck. We changed the material on the patio. We eliminated the stone wall on the patio. We shrank the size of the shed, and we eliminated the step on the shed. All of that before with several hundred square feet of impervious surface.
The shed was 198 and now you're at 180, so that's 18 square feet.
But
Yeah.
then, do you have this list from
No.
last time? So I have just from our last staff report, I have a breakdown of, maybe this will be helpful. I think this is maybe what Attorney Cohen's referencing or
Okay.
referring to. So the list of, the decking was to be 1,066 square feet, now it's 1,020 square feet. The shed was going to be 198 square feet, now it's 180. There was a 448 square foot pool, which is now
Right.
gone. A 90 square foot stone patio, which is now gone. 23.2 square feet for the retaining wall, which is gone. And the generator was going to be in a vault, which was 16 square feet, so that's gone. So I think
Yeah, I think that's right, at least all of
That's
that's.
not-
those are are those the numbers you're referring to? That's just from, I just saved it from the last staff report. 'Cause
Susan, I think
had notes
that's-
that they were gonna
I think
scale
that's
back
correct.
and move.
Okay, so thank you, Susan.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm discounting the pool out of that equation completely because I don't think that that's even relevant to the
Yep.
discussion. So we're at 182 square feet of difference based on last meeting. Just to be clear, I don't think I mean, I'm not saying either way, it's just not several hundred square feet.
So the total decrease,
From last meeting is 182. It was 46 on the deck, 18 on the shed, 90 on the terrace, 22 on the retaining wall, and 16 on the generator.
Right, so Lisa, I guess my point is, even if you don't count these 400 or whatever square feet of the pool, we still were more than, 230-ish square feet over, and now we've dropped that down to about 50. So that's the difference.
Yeah, it's 182 square feet.
No, it's more, but yeah, so last time we were over by 230 something square feet.
Yeah.
And now we're over by 58. And again, there is no rule to get to zero, but I think the issue is the board wanted us to make some significant efforts to reduce it, and we've done that. And I'm comfortable with this application at that level, and I hope the board finds it to be responsive, both in the fact that we have reduced the impervious surface, moved the shed, and improve the impact on the native species by changing the way we're dealing with some things. And also come up with a list of conditions that reflects all of the issues raised by the board and by the neighbors.
Billy, can I ask you a question? I just noticed that Mark Poor was sitting on this.
I was noticing that too, and I just texted him because I didn't have any heads up that he wasn't going to be here today.
Yeah, I think, was anyone either,
And I'm sorry, Madam Chair, just one quick clarification. The deadline on this is November 30th.
yeah, of course. So Lisa and Jim, were you guys present during the last time that we discussed this?
When was that?
Jim has been here for every, no?
What was the date of that meeting?
So Jim has been here.
He said he missed the initial. I honestly, this goes back to
It was in June, yeah.
2024.
Oh, right.
I think I was out sick.
No, Lisa, you were on this.
No, last
No,
meeting
but
she was not here.
Just the last meeting, I was out sick, I think. What's the date of last meeting you're referring to?
April, October.
It was the first one, but I think 10/17 we met.
I was sick.
Elisa wasn't here. Did we just, who voted on that one?
We continued, but we did have,
Yeah, I know, but
we just
In the minutes, isn't it?
continued.
You're so smart,
This was discussed in the September meeting.
No, this was discussed in April, or it's hard for me to say at this point. April or May is when we first picked up the discussion. It carried over to June, and then it got hung up until about last month.
Yeah, until last meeting.
Yeah.
And I know Elise was definitely sick. I think
Yeah.
you were here, Joe.
Last time. Yeah.
But you weren't here in April.
So,
I did watch the whole meeting
You did?
after.
okay. Oh,
Oh, you
then you're
did watch
fine.
it?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
okay,
good.
then all you
Okay.
have to do is
All right,
sign
so
On my
the
deathbed.
last time it was me, Mark, John, and Lisa that voted on the continuance. Elisa, you're good because you watched the meeting.
Yes, I did.
So then can Lisa sit in on this?
Do I have to sign a Mullen situation?
Technically, you do, and I should have probably had this to the clerk.
It's okay.
Everything's
It's
kind of
okay.
spiraled.
I didn't notice it either. I mean,
I have Mullen sheets here that I can have you sign, and I can run it to the clerk after this.
Steve, are you okay with that?
Whatever you
Yeah,
want to do.
yes, I am, Susan.
Okay, so, I mean, the applicant's okay with it being submitted. I mean, I don't know.
So we still only have 4.
Yeah, so Mark Poor. I mean, Steve, you could go forward, I guess, with me. It's me, Elisa, Joe, and John. And then what
And
is,
me, and me.
And Lisa.
but I guess we're trying to figure out, aren't we, if you can sit? Because did you sit at, was Lisa
I've been
here?
on all of them.
Oh, you have? Oh, okay, sorry, okay.
Yeah, all right,
Okay.
I'll
As
take
long
that.
as-
That sounds like a 5-member board. That would be fine.
Okay, thank you. I just, as long as you're okay with Elisa mullining in,
Yeah, I am.
okay, great. Okay, thank
So
you, all right.
who's the board? Just me?
So the board, the sitting board is myself, John, Elisa, Joe, and Lisa.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so sorry about that interruption, but, all right, so just for the numbers, Lisa, we started with,
What do you-
so we're down 182 square feet. We asked
From last meeting.
from last
not
meeting where
including
we
the pool.
said,
46
we
came
said-
out of the deck,
Yeah.
18, yep.
yeah, and we asked them, we said for November 4th, please scale back the decking and move the shed south and forward towards the new dwelling unit, which they
Have they?
did. Yeah, the shed is now,
Can you put up the latest plan?
the shed is now
Please.
on, if you have the sheet A51,
I don't have what was emailed separately.
and there's a Bracken plan here. You want to look at that one? That shows the shed like, on the edge of the driveway.
This is the wrong building.
Wait,
Susan, this is 51.
Oh, do I have
3.
51? Sorry.
51.
43.
We need 43. That's
I
51.
thought it said. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll pull it up on the
Sorry.
screen.
Yeah, I
Lisa.
printed out that one. I didn't see it.
Where did I just put that one? Oh, sorry, here.
Okay.
All right, so this is where so sorry, I'm sorry, it was printed so small.
I know.
well, we're just looking at here.
This might be easier to see. I mean, I can go back and forth between the two.
So Stephen, then did the shed move forward?
Yeah,
Yeah, they moved it a little bit because it was touching the
was-
vegetation.
But I don't see where the outline of it was
Oh, I
before.
can show you.
It was right here.
it was directly next to the vegetation, and I think Lisa correctly pointed out that was impractical, both because you couldn't maintain it and because it didn't give the vegetation anywhere to grow. So you can see now we've moved it several feet.
Closer to the house, yeah.
Yeah.
I just see the outline of the house, but I don't see the outline of where the shed was before, but.
Yeah, it was just directly back against the vegetation.
Here, Lisa.
Yep.
That was the old plan, so it was touching.
Oh, okay.
So they
Now
made it
it's- they
shorter,
got
yeah.
That little point, they pulled it off that point.
Yeah, and made it smaller.
Yeah, got it.
John, do you have anything to add on this? Joe?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Any further questions for the applicant?
The leach field, where that's up in this area, right?
Yeah.
And that's gonna go back to natural, is that right?
Mowed once a year.
once a year.
Mowed once a year field?
Yeah, native vegetation meadow.
Okay.
Stephen, sorry, Madam Chair, through you.
sure.
Which deck got reduced in size on this new plan?
The one on the south, the big one.
And how long, do you know how long that deck is?
I don't.
I can look.
I had a note from, and this may have, but there, a bunch of stuff came in for this meeting, like right at the last minute. So it might have been submitted and I didn't print it or missed it, but I have a note that we asked for an HDC plan about the renaturalized area. Does that make sense?
I don't think so.
Or maybe we asked for, maybe we asked for the HDC plan and a plan showing the renaturalized area
Well, we have HGC
Probably,
plans in
and-
the
packet.
packet, so I don't know.
All right, I just wanted to confirm that I think everything else was done. Oh, sorry, yeah, this was about restoring the area, allowing it to renaturalize, other than the leaching field, which will be mowed annually. Okay, so it seems that what we've requested has been delivered.
Yeah, I mean, I think I still have a fundamental issue with going, I feel like it's a slippery slope, once you give somebody a little bit more coverage than they're covering now, then what's to keep the next person from asking for a little bit more, and a little more, and a little more. It just sort of opens the door to.
Lisa, I appreciate that point, but I do want to note that it actually has nothing to do with the rules in the bylaw. This is not a ground cover impervious surface limitation. Impervious surface and ground cover trigger the special permit, but there's no limitation on them. And so the suggestion that you shouldn't get more it implies that the bylaw actually limits the volume in that way. What the bylaw talks about is keeping the distance away from the native vegetation and keeping the limitation on any destruction of native vegetation and blocking the scenic view. And so, we're not doing any of that here, which we already extensively went through with Brian. So, as much as I appreciate your point, it's not related to the 3 bylaw standards in this case.
May I ask staff a question? I thought the bylaw did restrict the amount of decking in the MMD.
Um,
I'm asking, I'm just
Just
asking
for
Billy.
Billy.
Let me pull up the bylaw and I'll bring it on screen.
That'd be great, thank you, because I thought there was a maximum.
The performance standards
Those are
are
included in the staff report.
report.
yeah.
They don't have, what we have here doesn't have a square footage, but
Something about,
Yeah, while Billy's looking, I want to answer that question, because it's complicated. The 800 square feet of ground cover and the 400 square feet of impervious surface are not limitations. They're triggers for requiring a permit. And if we do those, we need a permit, if we're less. But just because you require a permit doesn't mean those are limitations. Like if you look at the MCD bylaw, there's 20 triggers, but none of them are considered considered limitations. They're just triggers for a permit. It's the same thing.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Joe?
so 50 square feet is 0.00028 of the parcel. I mean, that's not very much. So I wouldn't have any problem with that. Not even, it's like a rounding thing. It's not very much.
Not what, not if it came to ground coverage, though, it wouldn't be a rounding error.
All right, so
Well,
we have
it says
the
areas.
bylaw pulled up in front of us. So
Thank you.
the permitted uses, I'm sorry about the formatting here, but one single dwelling unit not exceeding 800 square feet of ground cover plus not more than 400 square feet of area aggregate in the aggregate devoted to decks, covered porches, accessory buildings, and other impervious surfaces. Now, this next part is essentially one single-family dwelling unit, the special permit granting authority is allowed to grant one single dwelling family unit exceeding 800 square feet of ground coverage, and you just, there is no limit. It's a special permit application. So, and as site plan review is part of this, all conditions are pretty much on the board for the board to use. All conditions are available for the board to use as part of a site plan review. So fortunately, it's in your court.
Yeah, I agree with that,
About
Billy.
The 800 square feet, and they say nothing else about impervious material with that.
No, it really just talks about,
Yeah.
It's what's allowed by right and what requires a special permit, but no limitation at all.
Okay.
that being said, I think there's been a fairly solid track record of the planning board in previous decisions. I did a little bit of research of MMD, and most of these properties obviously have special permits because there's not a single home out there that's 800 square feet.
Right.
So most of these properties do have special permits that end up in a similar square footage of roughly 1,500 square feet. Now, it's not a perfect science. There's some peppered in that are a little more, maybe a hair less, but they all are pretty much in that 1,500 square foot range. And there were some pre-existing, like 43,
Yeah,
that
they're
had
bigger.
1,900 square feet. I feel like 35 has 2,400 square feet. It's not a perfect science, but
Yeah.
in terms of the special permit review, they've all kind of been pretty consistent with the ground cover and
Impervious?
impervious surface additions that don't amount to, reprogramming the whole site.
Yeah, but the impervious surface numbers of over 2,000 square feet are actually fairly common. And in fact, this zoning board just approved over on Walbang. The planning board had approved, I think, 1,875 square feet of impervious surface, and I came back to the board and asked for a couple hundred square feet more, and that was granted because it was appropriate in that area and didn't violate any of the terms of the bylaw. So I think Lisa, you're looking at this from the perspective of that you often have of ground cover overages and want to avoid those. And I think that makes a lot of sense for ground cover, but for impervious surface, the bylaw is pretty clear. You're just supposed to make sure we're not over man-made, surfaces in areas that shouldn't have it, and we're not.
Does anyone have any more questions for the applicant at this time? Okay, is there anyone in the audience who wanted to speak on this one?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Emily Molden with the Nantucket Land and Water Council. First, just to confirm, I don't think that the new materials that may have been on the screen or you've been discussing were in the packet. I don't think that as the public, we've had an opportunity to see them. So I feel a little bit at a disadvantage to comment on the new materials. I think it would be appropriate to allow the public an opportunity to review those. I understand that there's a deadline on the books that's approaching, but it does make it a little challenging. In following the discussions, I guess just a couple of follow-up comments that I would like to make after the comments that I made last time are specifically around the requirements of the MMD. I think that noting the permitted uses and those standards of the 800 square foot dwelling and the 400 feet of aggregate additional impervious surfaces and structures is really important, because those aren't just random numbers. They were put in there for a reason, and they're obviously intended to be quite small and low. And I think that that has as much to do about really directing the massing of structures and the aggregate of those man-made materials and the site disturbances out in this particularly special and sensitive area. Certainly, through the special permit process, the board has the ability to permit more than that, but I think that it is very important to understand that that is in your discretion, and the board certainly has the ability to condition these permits or deny them. I do think that it is within the board's discretion and makes a lot of sense to, especially as these are coming to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the first time now, to establish some sort of a standard or expectation for folks as to if they are redeveloping the property and the site. I think it makes sense to have no net increase for properties that are already pre-existing and exceed that, because as was discussed, it does create a bit of a slippery slope as far as what people might expect or push for in the future. So I would encourage the boards to think carefully about that. And I think that no net increase is a perfectly reasonable and good standard for the board to uphold. Aside from that, I think, again, not having been able to see the list of updated conditions, just a couple of the things that we discussed last time that I would just want to confirm are in there. There was discussion about the revegetation of the septic area, and I think I did hear that that's been proposed now to be no more than just an annual mow to make sure that that does renaturalize appropriately and isn't overly maintained. And the other one was, there was some discussion about offsite fill, and I think originally the conditions that had been in the packet talked about allowing offsite fill if it was screened, and I'm still certainly advocating for not allowing offsite fill at all in this area, just because it's pretty sensitive to bringing in seeds and invasive species from other sources. Hopefully with the redevelopment of the site, there'll be enough material from on-site that could be utilized for the project. So those were some of the other things that I just wanted to try and confirm. Thank you.
Thank you. The topsoil one is a good one. That is on this list on number 9. It says to the maximum extent possible, but I thought last meeting I thought Attorney Cohen, I thought you had agreed that no offsite topsoil.
If the board is insistent on no instead of minimizing it, that's fine. We can make it work.
Okay, I think, everyone agree? I see some heads nodding. Yeah, okay.
reasonable.
So yes, that would be no topsoil and fill used on the property shall be from spoils of any, only topsoil and fill used on the property shall be from the spoils of any on-site excavation. Okay, I saw another hand up. Just if you can identify yourself for the record.
Thomas Barrett of 39 West Maya Comet. In regard to the MMD, and Mr. Cohen didn't really go into this time, but this has been discussed since it was Planning Board, and then it came to you guys as Zoning Board of Appeals. Planning Board kicked it over to you guys, so now you have it. One of the members had mentioned in regard to why is the house being moved forward? We all knew the answer to that was because of the pool, because they had to put the pool in the back. Well, they pulled the pool now, So why does the house still have to move forward? The previous meeting back in April was requested to have a site plan with the measurements in regard to why the house is being pulled forward by about 30 or so feet. There's a little discussion back and forth with Mr. Cohen in regard to the footage. I estimated about 32 feet, 33, give or take. But it could be 27. We honestly don't know how far it's going forward. Mr. Cohen has stated in previous meetings that the house is, that he's clustering the house or he's putting the house is being clustered with the other houses in the neighborhood. Well, technically he's not. That's disingenuous, rightly so, because it's being moved towards the water or towards the pond and not being clustered with the others. Why is that? Because down the road, when land court approves, they fight with land court and somehow the zoning gets changed so that they can have pools, the house is going to be in a position where the pool can go. Now, another thing that I have is we have to disturb all this soil to put in a 5-bedroom septic field, and then that has to be maintained. Well, if we're not putting a pool in, then why can't the septic field go where the backyard is between the back of the house and the shed? Because that's already disturbed soil. But no, we're going to put the septic field over in a field that has to be maintained, which is not native species, because most of that out there is scrub oak and bayberry. So you can't have wooded species over the septic field because it'll infiltrate. So now that has to be mowed. So that's not going to be brought back to native vegetation out there. And why is that? Because down the road, they want the pool. So I'm trying to understand why the zoning board's okay with them moving the house forward closer to the road when it was brought up at the last meeting in April and a request was made to have a plan made for that, but a plan has not been submitted in regard to how far the house is being moved forward for whatever reason. There was also discussion of a member saying, why do we even have to change the foundation footing? Why can't they just build it on the same foundation? Why does it have to be moved? I do remember that conversation. So I just wanted to bring this up. I mean, this has been going on for 9 months now, 8 months, 9 months, I guess, something like that. I mean, between all the MMDs out there, and then, somebody brings up wall bang. Well, that's a whole different area. That's not even close to what this is in this area. And the MMD bylaw states protection of scenic views. Mr. Cohen wants to say that you can't protect scenic views of private individuals. But you know what? If it's written in the zoning bylaw specifically of scenic views, it doesn't matter if it's private or public because it's written in it. So therefore, that's a defense of private ownership and public. If it wasn't written in there, then it would have not been a reasoning as under your purview. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention in regard to this, and also in regard to Emily stating the fact that we got the staff report and we got the packet, and then all of a sudden now there's new information that has been submitted at the quote-unquote last minute, last hour, that the public has not had a chance to look at. So these new numbers that he's representing, I didn't get a chance to look at them. Members didn't get a chance to review them. So I honestly don't think that's appropriate for that late information for the public to understand what's going on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Susan, can I respond briefly to that?
Yeah, I was going to ask if you could refresh our memory because those are good
Wait.
points about why it's moving forward. If the pool is gone, the septic to the side, and I was just looking in my notes to see if what plans we did request versus what we have. So
Yeah, I mean, my client wants to have a better view of the ocean, and that's why they're changing the direction and angle of the house. Mr. Barada's point that his 800 feet away is somehow protected by scenic views of the moorlands and west and heathlands, which are to the north and east, is an insane interpretation of the bylaw. The scenic views that are protected are of the are of the moorlands and heathlands, not his view of the ocean. That's what he's upset about. But again, his house, I think, is something like 800 feet away and has massive, 270-degree views. So that suggestion is ridiculous. We have spent a ton of time on this, and the board has never suggested that the house was in an inappropriate location, because it's not. We are actually moving it further away from the moorlands and heathlands, which are the protected resources, and it's moving about 20 feet, which is a nominal amount in reality. Is it moving closer to the road? Yeah, because it's moving further away from the protected species. So I feel like we've already addressed this question. Could you center everything, in the yard? We could, but we don't want to. We want to have a slightly better view and a nice little yard. And again, this is like a 3 or 4 acre site, and we're only developing a few thousand square feet of it. And in fact, 2,000 square feet that's currently developed is going to be revegetated, and there's no requirement for that at all. So, this house is the standard is not whether or not Mr. Murata likes it, the standard is whether or not it's having a negative impact on the moorlands and heathlands, and it's not, as we went through in detail already. So that's why I think we're okay. And in terms of this information not being available to the public, I get that point that it was submitted at the last minute, but at the same time, all of that information is currently available and has been presented at this meeting. And there's actually no requirement to submit it in advance. So I think we're good on the fact that all of the relevant information is available to the public at this meeting, and that the house being relocated and redesigned has been discussed 5 or 6 times. And I'm really sorry that Mr. Brada might lose, 1% of his view from 1,000 feet away. But I think we're good on it. And I'd like, frankly, to ask for a vote from the board.
Okay. So are there any other comments? Is there anyone online?
I'd like to.
Are there any
No
follow-up
hands
questions?
are raised
Okay.
online.
Are there any follow-up questions for board members?
I have a
Elisa?
comment. I actually remember bringing up the point of why is the house moving forward so much? And when there was a pool on the plan, I understood why they were pulling it forward, but now there's no pool. And I don't think it's necessary to pull the house forward that much. Regardless of, who wants a better view out there, I don't see why the footprint has to go so much closer to the pond. So I think that's a very good point. And without the pool in the back, we should be able to pull that back without hesitation. And actually, there's a rise in the topography there. If they pulled it back, they'd probably get a couple more feet of height from their house, therefore possibly a better view. The next thing is, what has really struck me is the septic location. That's a completely original, naturally vegetated area right now. I think that's the most important on the property, because it hasn't been disturbed at all. And it's the original natural vegetation, not revegetated by people. And now I'm wondering why we can't pull that septic field in as close to the already disturbed area. I feel like it's unnecessarily far away, and I don't know the setbacks off the top of my head. And it may require moving that shed a little bit further away from where it is now, maybe more to the east. But I have my reservations about that completely never disturbed area where the septic field is now being uprooted. And even if the original fill and loam is on the property and put back in place, they're still going to have to do plantings or seeds, or I don't know what the process is. So I feel like this whole layout can be concentrated more than, and not as spread out. Just because you have the land doesn't mean you need to spread it out, especially when it means you're going to be disturbing as much original native vegetation as you are. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think just follow up, thank you, Lisa. I think Mr. Barata brought up a good point about the location of the septic system, and maybe Dan Malloy can speak to that. Is there any reason it can't go in the already disturbed area if there's not going to be a pool?
Right.
I think that was an important point. I mean, personally, you know, the way that the house is moving, I think that bothers me less than your point about disturbing area does not need to be disturbed now.
Mr. Malloy, do you want to address that concern?
Yeah, I can address the septic questions and some of the alterations as well. So first off, where the proposed septic system is going is really fixed relative to all the well locations. There are not a lot of places the septic can go due to setbacks to wells, which is why it is where we have it. And
Can we
in
see a
terms of
plan where the wells
alteration,
are located?
And also where the current system is, perhaps. Can you show us where the current septic system is?
right, that's on the plan now. So that's also part of the alteration question is the existing system is in the proximity where we're putting the new one. So in saying that this area is entirely native is not true. So the
Dan,
back
can
area
you
of the
share a
property.
plan?
I didn't say that.
Could you share a plan that shows the existing septic and the proposed?
Yeah, that should show up on,
Yeah, which sheet would it be on, Dan? Because I can share it on the screen.
it's the plan that we have with the color, showing the color proposed house and existing.
Hang on 1 second.
There you go. So you can see the proposed septic system right in the middle in black.
Yeah.
Right above it is the existing system,
Oh, the pit, but it's a
the
pit.
pit and the tank. So we're putting the system essentially back in the same proximity to where it is now. And there's clearly evidence that where we're putting this has been previously altered. It's not native back to the beginning of time.
The entire area was already previously disturbed?
Looking at the aerial photos, you can see over time, how many years ago, when this house or septic was built, that area was previously altered.
What's that little scallop edge line where the cursor is right
Existing
now?
Vegetation.
What is that? Yeah, what is that?
That's existing vegetation today.
How long ago do you think it was disturbed?
I would assume back when the house and the septic was originally constructed,
So when was that?
not recently.
1983.
So 40 years ago, okay.
was built, I think, 82 or 83 when I was a kid.
So wait a minute, I just have a specific question. So that leach field cannot be pulled closer to the house even if you relocate the well?
It could be pulled slightly closer, but nothing of any meaningful. We're not going to move it 50 feet or anything of any substance.
What's the tightest it could be to the site of the new dwelling that it could go?
Yeah, where are the well lines?
I mean, I think those are well test pit 1, 2.
Yeah, we could
Where are
probably,
the
we could
wells?
move
Oh,
it
the well-
maybe 10 feet to the east, closer to the house.
Okay. Would you be willing to do that, to
Yeah, I mean, yeah, not a problem.
Dan, is it possible to just show the wells is it the one that's under the proposed dwelling? No, that's going to be an abandoned well.
Where is the new well?
That's got to be.
The new well is on the top, right above there, right there. Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
And so we're right outside that.
Right, we're limited where we can put a well, because we're also trying to stay within inside the alteration areas.
Well, see where it curves out up top and where like the pool was going to be, it looks like? What's going on there other than a big lawn?
Up
think
there, we
this
can't
would
put
be
a septic system due to both our well setback and a butter's well setbacks.
I would love to see a revision of the septic system and possibly a different well location that would help make this work and tighten up the back of this property and disturb much less of what's been there for 40 years. I just think it's really spread out.
Yeah,
And I think it can get,
Elisa, I hear what you're saying. And
Yeah.
I think if if you find it's appropriate, that we could get an approval and do that through staff. Because I don't think you actually need to see it so much as you want to see it happen. We'd be happy to, I'd love to get an approval with that as a condition approved through staff. And of course, approved through
Condition
staff.
being, Steve, the condition being that the septic will be moved.
redesigned.
Yeah, moving closer to, I think, where that line is, essentially where the septic line is now. We try to move it closer to like where that swale line is. Yeah, move it as close to that as possible.
All right, which line is it?
The
Is
one
that,
that's showing the connection, the pipe.
yeah, Dan, is that
Okay,
seem,
okay,
is that
okay,
moving it as
okay.
close to that as possible? Dan, do you think that is
Okay.
okay? I just
Because
want to make sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hold on one
so
second.
what we'd be looking to do, looking at this plan, you can see the existing septic tank at the top of the plan,
Yeah,
rectangle. We would be able to move the leaching field somewhere below in line with that.
okay. So yeah,
So-
so
Ru-
All right,
Approximately
so
right
wait,
there.
hold on one second. So because I hear what you're saying. However, we have what is it called? A action deadline of November 30th on this one, so they'd have to give us an extension.
We
Okay,
can't
I'm okay with that.
continue without an extension or an agreement for an extension.
Extension from who?
Wait, I'm sorry.
From the applicant.
What did you say? We can?
We can't.
Can't,
We
right.
Well, I thought we
can't
got an
without an
extension
agreement
last
for
week.
an extension from the applicant.
We got an extension for 1 month last meeting.
Right,
Just for a
but,
month. Got it.
but
Yeah.
the
Typically, that's what we
they've,
do.
they've agreed to, so what I have, they've agreed to the conditions that we did last time. The topsoil is no topsoil from off-site. The septic will be moved closer, or as like 10 feet or closer to the dwelling unit, to the connection line, that we can add that as a condition. But I think the applicant has asked for a vote. So I see we have another comment at the mic, but I want to I just want to be careful of timing, because if we don't make a decision, then it's a constructive grant.
Right. Instead of, well, could we tag it on to next Wednesday's meeting just to have a revised plan? No? Okay, so that's no. Instead of giving a no vote, I would rather see how, I want the best effort made to get this leach field as far out of the back, we'll just call it the back of the lot, as possible. And if that means, playing with the well and moving it around a little, I see this huge area up here that's just, going to be mowed lawn. And I don't want to give an approval and then they submit a septic leach field plan that's 10 feet closer. I'm not going to be okay with that. I want it, there's a lot of space and I want it moved away, or I'm going to vote no.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Oh, yeah,
can I just address one of the things that was brought up
yeah.
with a couple of speakers with the delivery of the documentation today?
I think was it today or yesterday? Yesterday.
We received it yesterday and I forwarded it to the board.
Yeah, I had it
I
yesterday.
was not able to update the packet or send it to anyone else, and I
Right,
apologize, but.
I
mean,
understand that.
I had 24
I just think
hours.
we need to kind of lean toward everyone having a chance to review it, not just the board. And I would say that if that's important information and the public really hasn't had a chance to view it, then I just think,
Well, I agree with you.
otherwise it could turn into a document dump the last day before.
Yeah, I agree
And
with you.
that
I
goes
agree with you that it is much better practice to have stuff early because exactly what just happened earlier in this meeting, like I've got plans from different things that I'm trying to, assimilate with applications, and I was looking at the wrong one, because we got all this information on 3 different applications coming in at the last minute. For this, we have a deadline. Emily Molden's point is well taken about the not having a chance to review. I don't see anything in here that we didn't request. It seems like they answered and gave us what we had requested, including the plan as well. So I don't think for this one, I don't think we have an avenue.
I would do a special Zoom meeting just for this to vote before the deadline. If it's
Well,
going to be,
how is are they going to have time to?
well,
I mean, I'm not trying to come down on either side of this
Well,
other
let's
than
ask.
just logistics.
Let's ask them if
because
they're going to have time.
Susan, can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
The last thing I want to do is get involved in the Surfside Crossing meeting next weekend, next Wednesday. But if the only thing we're doing is showing the updated septic plan, and not reviewing like the same comments about everything 50,000 times, I'd be happy to continue just so that one single issue could be addressed and we could get this done next week.
Well, I just want to be clear, Elisa, you're not necessarily looking for them just to move the septic system as close as they can. You're sort of, I mean, if that's all they're doing, you could probably do that with an exhibit, but you want to see investigation about moving the well and why a well can't be moved other places.
Well, they don't have to move the well if it doesn't affect, they can leave it right where it is. If it isn't, if it doesn't
If they can move the septic
impact the
system.
septic system being
Right.
moved, they can leave it right there.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't move the neighbors' wells.
Okay.
Right.
I'd like to hear from the audience, but
I'm afraid
we,
that moving.
the applicant has asked for a vote. We have 2 members over here who did not have comments or questions. So the applicant rather has offered to move the septic 10 feet closer.
Yeah, and potentially more if we can squeeze in more.
Okay. I don't necessarily need to see a plan, but I'm going to go over here. If you could just ID yourself for the tape.
Do you mind if I just defer to Dan? I just saw his hand raised.
Oh, yeah, sure. Sorry, it's hard when it's all behind me. I need to bring a laptop. Is what I need. Dan,
I just wanted, just real quickly to answer one question. Billy, can you zoom out on that plan just a little bit? Perfect, right there. One thing, so I wanted to make it clear in terms of how much we can move the septic system, because it's already on this plan. Just to the right of the septic system, there's a dashed line that goes up and down the page.
Yep.
And right below that line, to the right of Billy's cursor, right there, if you can read the label on that line, that is a 300-foot setback from the pond. So regardless of anything else, we can't cross that line with the septic system.
Well, can you go right up to it?
We can pull up tight to it. As we said, we can try to get it lined up where the existing tank is, but we can't go any further.
You might have to move the
Yeah.
shed a little.
Okay, so why don't we say that we'll try to get as close to that the pond line and the other well lines as possible. Because those aren't going to move.
Is that acceptable to you?
I want to see the plan. I mean, do I have the right?
Well, that pond line isn't going to move.
If I see the plan and I'm not okay with it and they haven't made a concerted effort to get it where that we just talked about, then I want to, change my vote possibly.
Can I just ask one other question?
Wait, hold on. Let me answer that first because I don't know the answer to that. You can't change your vote, but I don't know the answer about, septic setbacks and requirements and the well setbacks, like that's a whole nother thing that we don't really have jurisdiction over, correct? Like we can't, like it has, that
No,
just
that's
is what
Board
it
of Health,
is. We can ask them to get it as close to that pond setback as possible, but it doesn't, it going in the backyard where the pool was
That doesn't
is
sound
not
like it's going to happen.
going to happen. So, I think the applicant has acted. We've asked for a bunch of stuff. They've done it. I see the.
I'm very happy with everything.
Yeah, I
else.
mean, the existing that I have written down here from the notes is, existing dwelling was 1932. It's staying at 1932 now. The existing decking is 1077. Now it's going to be 1020 as the final number. And there was no shed, and now there's going to be a 180 square foot shed, and they took off all the rest of it. So
That's
I-
great,
I'm-
but it doesn't mean that there isn't more that could be done. Just because they've given us the things that are convenient for them, and, in my judgment, doesn't mean they can't continue to tighten this up. I feel like it's spread out and it could be much closer.
I agree with you, but, and I know you weren't here last meeting, but I guess like, I feel like we asked them to do a lot, and now this is like starting a whole new conversation about.
But this is our
more.
chance to get it right.
Right, and
It is, but
And I'm
we-
also
now we
not
haven't
gonna
done-
push to move the house back, because that would then mean that the septic couldn't come as far forward. So I'm willing to let that go, but I feel like, in my opinion, disturbing that area for the septic is just as bad as putting a house there, basically. I mean, I know
Right, 'cause
it'll
you're gonna mow
eventually
it.
grow, but you're gonna
yeah.
dig it all up. You're gonna dig a hole. It's a huge, like, as if you're putting in a foundation. It's a big disturbance. And I'm just trying to,
Mitigate it.
protect this area a little bit more.
can I ask Jan a couple questions relative to the septic system?
Sure.
Just
And then-
because I have to, I think I can bring myself to understand the difference in ground cover, particularly because I know that 32 square feet of the house is an overhang as opposed to actual, I know that's still impervious, but it's actually not sitting on the ground. That makes me feel a little bit better. But I think Elisa brings up, and Mr. Barata brings up good points about the septic system. And so, just out of curiosity, what's the existing pit in terms of capacity, and what are they changing to? Just out of curiosity.
Dan, that question's for you.
Give me 1 minute, I can pull that up and tell you. So the proposal for the septic is 6 bedrooms. And I'll pull up give me a minute to grab the existing. The existing is 6 as well.
Okay,
So
so
it's
no
maintaining
change in
capacity.
Okay, that was one question. And then, which is good. Can you also confirm that the septic can move up to that 300-foot line?
I'm looking at all of our data right now on another screen, and we can move it up to that line, but we can't cross it.
No, I mean, I think that that's all you
That's
really need to
reasonable.
know.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay,
sorry,
so if we
Billy?
add, what? Oh, sorry, Billy.
Yeah, I wanted to make it clear. The board needs to either vote, and if you're going to approve it through staff as a condition, that is something staff would review. If I'm emailing that to you all, that's a rolling open meeting law violation. So the two options are to either cast a vote or continue, and I would just need assurance from the applicant that they will sign a continuance to the December 9th
I think we just moved past that. I
Oh,
think-
we did?
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
so,
I just wanted
and
him
if
to
the-
confirm that it could go right up to that line.
yeah.
And if the wording was such, not just move it up a little bit,
No,
if the
to
wording
the-
was to the line, I would be okay with voting on that today.
Okay.
But again, well, I'm trusting the process that it will be up against that line.
Up
Yeah,
against the line,
Elisa, I think what we
And
can
let's-
do,
What is that line called?
300-foot buffer to the
Yeah,
to the
to the
pond.
pond.
Yeah.
Lisa, I think what we can do is when we draft the decision, excuse, which you have to sign, we will have the plan before you even sign it.
Yeah,
Great.
okay. I want to go back to the audience, and then I'd like to, if there are no further questions, I'd like to talk about a motion. So just identify yourself, please.
Thanks, and I'll be quick. Brian Madden from LEC Environmental Consultants. So just to reiterate some points on the temporary disturbance associated with the septic installation. So that area currently is occupied primarily by black huckleberry.
Sorry, who are you? Sorry, I missed it. From where?
Brian Madden from LEC Environmental.
Okay, all right, sorry.
No problem.
Go ahead.
And so the intent is to keep that disturbance as minimal as possible. And with that shift over to the east, will help shore that up and minimize that disturbance overall. But basically, once the topsoil is stripped, it's separately stockpiled, and that's going to be reused over that area.
Yes.
So we're retaining the native seed bank, and then just exactly over the septic leach field is going to be a meadow that will be maintained, mowed once a year. We're going to supplement that cover with little blue stem, native grasses, things of that nature, but it's going to retain the native seed bank. And so everything surrounding that leach field within the naturally vegetated area will be naturally restored in place. So it is a temporary alteration, but it's pretty minimal, especially in comparison to the areas elsewhere on the property that are going to remain untouched, greater than 2 acres of the property. So I just wanted to reiterate some of those points for the installation and revegetation.
Okay, Madam Chair, if I could request a vote, I think, we've spent a good amount of time on this and we've got even better improvements. I think, like going to the dentist, it's no fun, but you get better result.
Agreed. I've got 2 people standing at the microphones. I'd like to hear what they say.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just quickly to follow up, I appreciate and very much support this proposal to shift the septic over to the 300-foot buffer. It's a detail, and I'm sure it's understood, but just to confirm that then the disturbance as shown in the plan will also shift over to the east as tight to the septic leach field as possible. Thank you.
Yeah, that's an agreeable condition.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, Thomas Barrett again. Yeah, I'd just like to make note of what Mr. Cohen said, was that, they're moving this house forward so that they could have a better view, even though that they have an unobstructed view of the ocean. So they're moving it forward for their scenic view, while at the same time damaging the view of the other 5 neighbors or 4 houses down the way. So he gets an unobstructed view by moving it forward, which he said to you. I get my scenic view, screw them. That's basically what it is. He doesn't care about the neighbors, doesn't care about that. It's written in the bylaw as scenic view. So it's very disingenuous for him to actually say, we're moving it forward because we're going to fix our view. We're going to rotate the house, move it forward so we have a better view, but you're behind us. So you don't, doesn't bother us. Yeah, thanks, Mr. Cohen.
Okay. Would someone want to make a motion?
It's a lot.
Oh, sorry. And I meant to ask Billy, was there any additional mail on this one that we hadn't seen yet?
Any additional
Like-
mail?
Yeah.
No.
No, okay, I thought so, I just want to make sure. So would someone make a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
So John makes the motion, Elisa seconds. So we'll do roll call vote. John?
Aye.
Elisa? Joe?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Okay, so moving forward, so we have the proposed conditions submitted as amended to change number 9 to, I guess, number 9, and just cross out to the maximum extent possible and just write all instead. All topsoil and fill used on the property shall be from the spoils of any on-site excavation or disturbance, and no imported fill or topsoil shall be used or shall be screened or shall otherwise be screened materials. And then adding the septic system will move as close to the,
Up to, not as close to.
Up
He said it could
against.
go to up against.
well, I hadn't finished,
300-foot line.
actually hadn't finished speaking, but
Okay.
up to, I was gonna say as up to or as close to the 300-foot pond buffer setback, I can't read that last word, as allowed. And the disturbed area will also pull in the same amount that the septic moves over. There's a more eloquent way to say that, but
And it'll be shown in a plan.
yeah, and the plan will be attached as exhibit to the decision. Okay.
I actually won't agree with that wording.
Okay, how do you want it to be worded?
Just say against that delineation point, not as close to.
Point of order,
Well,
Madam Chair.
how?
Point of order.
Sure.
We voted on it. So now we're
No, we voted.
working on,
Voted on
this
what?
functions as an amendment. Did you
We
not?
voted on the.
No, we voted to
closing
close the
hearing.
public hearing.
Closing
Oh,
hearing.
okay, sorry.
Yeah,
So,
Just the wording of the,
because Dan basically said he could move it up to that line, so I
Right.
don't see the need to put in as close to. or as
okay,
close
I
to.
just
say
I
up
just
to
was
the line.
trying to like save us in case, I don't know, like if you say against the line, like is it an actual
yes.
like structure? Can it go?
Or if there's a well on the neighbor's property that you have no control over.
Well, but I think he was
said
able to
that
look
he
at that.
If they're, I mean, if they're confident with it, that's fine.
just said
I-
yes.
I always appreciate,
Okay, all right. So against, is that what you wanted?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Or up to.
the
Up
sep-
to,
the
up
s-
Up to,
okay, so, well, then why don't you say it the way you want it, so I'm not,
up to the 300-foot line that protects the pond.
okay, so,
Or I
so
probably
those are
didn't
the,
word it.
those are the conditions that we have from the last meeting and from the additions.
And if anything needs to be moved based on this request, it be pointed out in the new plan. Like if
Yeah, the
there,
new plan will have to show
because that's gonna, it looks to me like it's gonna move the shed over. You know, if we were
Yeah,
to cut and
it'll have to
paste,
reflect,
yeah, whatever domino effect that has on where everything is laid out, just to show it on the plan.
yeah.
Yeah.
And will these figures, because I can't really read the plans, the plan will note the revegetation square footage as well as the impervious. the new
Steve, are
impervious
you
square
hearing
footage.
this? Can you?
yeah,
so
yeah,
Lisa's-
we can make sure that the updated plan shows all those numbers in a key.
Yeah, because I
And-
mean, one thing that I wanted to point out is the other thing that they are doing, which I can't remember what the figure is, but they are revegetating a bit along the driveway and increasing undisturbed area, so.
Yeah, we'll
based on the
have,
landscape plan.
we'll have a plan that shows that updated, and we'll have a key that has the numbers, so it's all in one place.
Okay,
would be great.
and then my only caution would be if you do have to move the shed, as Elisa is saying might have to happen, pull it closer to the house, or,
Yeah.
you know, you, obviously, last time you moved it away from the vegetated area, don't push it back towards the vegetative area, so, okay, so those are the conditions. Does someone want to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the relief as requested with the list of conditions submitted by the applicant as amended and added to at this meeting with the updated plan to be attached to the decision. I'll do a roll call vote. Sorry, John, you made the motion?
I did.
Okay, so John made the motion, Elisa seconded. We'll do roll call vote. John?
Aye.
Elisa?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye, aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Okay, so that
Okay.
carries.
Thank you all. I very much appreciate your attention to this. It deserves a lot of attention, and I think we brought a lot of attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Billy, you'll discontinue me as a panelist?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Okay, so next we're going to move on to new business, 2020, 1224. Guys, can you, guys in the back, can you guys just maybe take it outside? Thank you. Okay, so new business, application 12-24, South Sconset Neighborhood Association LLC, 1 Magnolia Avenue, 10 grand. And then, sorry, and a bunch of others, 7R, 10, 11, 16, 17, 19 Ocean Ave, 2, 4, and 5 Cottage Avenue. They have requested to continue to December 12th. Would someone?
Madam Chair, can I have a point of order on that? I
Yes.
just want to make sure, because you've continued that a lot. You have the extension that you need on that, correct?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we're agreeing to continue this one. What is the extent, what is their action deadline? Or they haven't, it hasn't even opened yet, right?
We haven't opened this
So-
item. It's been continued since it landed on our desk. And then I was also told, whatever.
Whatever, so let's maybe just follow up with them once and see if this is actually, or we can get this off the agenda. Maybe they can withdraw without prejudice, or we can,
If the board is okay with it, I would be fine giving them more or less an ultimatum to be heard in December or withdraw.
yeah, because it's been a long time and it's just taking up space.
Over the summer, it was around that June, July timeframe.
I think that makes sense. And then also, I think if it gets opened, you want to make sure you have enough of a runway to be able to discuss it and not have just one meeting.
Yeah, agreed, so,
through it, so.
right, okay.
And in fairness, no one reached out to me from them, and trying to pack as much in as I could, I asked them to continue because I hadn't
It's okay.
received anything.
Yeah,
and-
yeah, it's all right. So would someone make a motion to continue this one, and we'll have an update for the December 12th meeting? Okay.
Second.
All right, so roll call, Elisa?
Elisa?
John?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Myself, I, and Lisa?
Aye.
Okay. Rugged Scott LLC, application 17-24, 1 Blue Flag Path and 8 Blazing Star Road. They have requested to withdraw without prejudice. Would someone make that motion?
Second.
Okay, so Lisa and John again.
Can I make a quick note to that? Because I did reach out to town council. If you can make your motion to accept the withdrawal by agreement without prejudice?
Sure. So the motion is to accept the withdrawal by, accept the withdrawal without prejudice by agreement? Because they have a private agreement?
Without prejudice.
Yeah, it was to accept the NCP, I believe is what George put it, by agreement without prejudice.
Perfect, that's the motion. So do you still make that motion? You made it? Yes. And John?
I'll still second it.
Okay, so Elisa? Aye. John?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Myself, I, and Lisa?
Aye.
Okay. And next, we are moving on to 19-24, Stephen L. Cohen as trustee of Area 51 Trust, 51 West Maya Comet Road. Attorney Sarah Alger is presenting. This is also an MMD. We have not, this one hasn't opened before. So it, okay, you have the floor.
Sarah Alger for the applicant. I'm a little afraid, but here I am. With me, I think the architect, Andrew Cochin, is available online. John Bracken Engineering is here, as well as Brian Madden. This is an application for work in the MMD at 51 West Maya Comet Road. I just want to start by saying that when this project was first reviewed by the team, the whole question that was asked was, how do we create the most reduced visual impact in the natural landscape and still do this project? And that's what's driven the architectural piece of this particular project. And it's slightly unusual because we have one dwelling that above ground appears to be 2 separate structures, but is connected by a below ground piece. And I believe staff has confirmed, and the building department has also confirmed, that that is considered one dwelling unit. So it's one dwelling unit connected underground with two above-ground pieces that are meant to, by going underground, that forces the buildings to be low, minimizes the visual impact on the structures. The gap between them provides a view, an additional view corridor. I think if you look at the pictures or you go out and visit the site, you'll see that many of the houses out in this area kind of present as a wall of structure. A lot of them are right along the pond or right along the road, and they are kind of visually imposing. Some of them, I think it's like 72 feet long. These structures, I guess what I'd call the main mass is about 26, little over 26 feet high, just 38 feet long, and then the smaller secondary mass is about 21 feet high, about 18 feet long. This lot, if you look at kind of an overview of the MMD, this lot is one of the biggest lots out there. It's 182,305 square feet. I think there's maybe one other lot that's slightly larger than this lot, but it is an extremely large lot. We're proposing to demolish and rebuild. We're rebuilding pretty much right in, as you can see, right in the footprint of what's there. The orientation of the house has changed a little bit. It's rotated a little bit north, south, maybe northeast to southwest, as opposed to being straight north-south. We're allowing additional land to revegetate. We've been listening, obviously, to all of the discussion in the application that you just approved. And so over the course, since this was first filed, which was, I think, back in May or June, we've tried to respond to the comments that we've heard in the application that you just discussed. So we've significantly reduced what we were asking for to begin with. I think the initial application was maybe a little bit more aggressive than it needed to be. We've removed, for example, we've removed the pool. We've reduced the amount of impervious surface to 800, just below 800 square feet. So say 800 square feet, which is what is currently existing on the property. The house has a ground cover of 1,500 square feet. I believe 1,492 was what was previously approved. The building that was built is about 1,392, so we are increasing the existing ground cover by a little over 100 square feet. But I think looking at the MMD and looking at the houses that have been approved, maybe not so much through this board since your purview is reasonably recent, but back when the planning board was doing the approvals, I think 1,500 had become kind of the standard for MMD ground cover. And there are certainly houses out there that have more than 1,300 square feet, significantly more. Well, let's see, we have HDC approval, we have NISA approval, and I really don't know what more I can tell you. Our plan breaks down where those impervious surfaces are. We've eliminated as much of the impervious surface as we could reasonably locate. Every paver and walking stone, and all the retaining walls have been changed to being some sort of steel. Of course, I'm standing on my notes, which is never good. So I don't know whether you have any particular questions, because I could ramble on about this for any amount of time, but. the whole purpose of the way the property has been positioned and designed has been to honor the purpose of the MMD. And I think by responding to the comments that we've heard on the other applications over the past few months, I think we've really done a good job of achieving that. The septic system, by the way, is being put where the existing septic system is.
Oh, is the,
Is, okay, I'm just, the wording is so tiny.
it's so hard to see.
I know.
Can't, oh, I can see it now, Lisa. I think this is the existing system, and then the reserve and that are the dotted lines, is that? The dotted lines are the reserve and the new system, and the existing system is below the yellow hatch.
Don, do you want to?
Is that correct? It's really hard to read.
I'll let Don speak to that because he knows this better than I do.
Thank you. Yeah, the existing system is, just south of that most southwestern corner. It's trenches going about east to west, kind of in the direction of the reserve area, but it's closer to where the new structure is going to go. So the new septic system, you can see, is now going to be parallel to that side of the building. It's 20 feet off the foundation, which is the minimum that we need. But all of that work is still proposed within that red dash line, which was the original limit of clearing approved in 2001. The well is, you can see it to the north of the site, right off the edge of where the new driveway is going to go. That's going to stay. So again, similar to the last project, we have these big well influence zones around that we have to deal with. So the septic does have to stay within that general area. The reserve area that's shown is just, that's only on paper. You know, that can pretty much be wherever. We try to keep that in the same location, close to where the septic system was, because we had soil conditions that we knew were there. We thought that would be a good place for it, so.
May I ask Don a question? Is there any reason why you couldn't just extend the leach fields that are there? I mean, obviously you want to move it because you don't meet the 20 feet to the basement.
That's exactly why, yeah. And it's also, it's going, that's only a 3-bedroom system anyway,
going
and
to
this is a
5.
proposed 5-bedroom, so it has to be.
But you could lengthen the trenches in their current location.
We could, but we'd rather not, seeing they've been there over 20 years, and with the extent of work that's already being done. The type of system that we're proposing is a bed system with plastic infiltrators. Those actually take up much less space than the leaching trenches do for the same amount of flow. It's the same thing that was described in the last project. The topsoil will be removed and put to the side and put back over the system after it's installed.
Okay, I have one other question, just because it's hard. There's a landscape section that was submitted in the separate email that came. Is there a landscape plan?
Yes, that was submitted as well, right there.
Is it this one?
Okay.
That's it.
It's got to be in here
Oh,
somewhere.
no, it
Hang
was,
on. Oh, here it is, I found it.
Yeah,
A51.
that's the landscape plan. The cross-section was provided just to show the amount of
158, this came in the email, no,
soil.
yeah.
That's
Oh,
all right.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I found it.
Okay,
It was, the
good.
original plan was on 158, and then there was a cross-section that was emailed, correct?
Yeah, we submitted the cross-section. I think, I don't know, there was a difficulty, so.
This one with the gray.
Anyway, I've been working with staff, and I have to commend Bill for how hard he's been working for you guys. It has not been easy, and I think when the package was put together, the cross-section ended up being corrupt or a blank page.
I was
actually
having
did look at that.
Adobe issues when I tried to
Yeah.
post on Friday. I was unable to post on Friday. I had IT help me out, and I posted a link to Laserfiche after they converted the PDF, which is not the way I want to do it ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had to email it separately.
And that's the correct.
Yes, that plan is, yes, that's absolutely the plan.
I'd like to make a comment.
Sure, Lisa.
I have to say, this is terrific. I think keeping it as dense as it is, where the structures were before, keeping the new landscape as tight to the house as possible, the driveway where it was before, getting that septic close to the house. I think this is great.
Thanks.
I
Well,
don't have
I
any-
have to say, it has helped a lot
I
to
mean,
have 4
I have no
months of.
criticisms, and I think that it was thought through. Maybe other people are thinking things, but from my vantage point, I feel like it was really well thought through, and nothing is, you're not trying to do anything that isn't, very aware of the surroundings, and it is a huge lot. And I commend whoever came up with the whole
Yeah.
game plan.
Madam Chair?
Yes, John?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we've been cheating by following along with that other application.
Yeah, true.
I have a question for the applicant and staff. So I assume that this is connected through an underground breezeway,
Yes.
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Does that count as an impervious surface?
That's a very good question.
Yeah,
And the
that was
answer
my
to that is no, just the same way that an underground septic tank wouldn't be considered impervious surface. And I believe, I'll let you speak to that, that we have at least 12 to 36 inches of topsoil over the connector, so.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I did, when I received the updated package, my logical thought was there's a structure underground, it's pervious. It's impervious. So I reached out to the town engineer because I have to deal with him quite a bit for planning board just to get his take on it. And he said with a minimum of 12 inches, he would consider it to be pervious.
Okay.
Pervious.
It's a creative,
So-
it's a very creative idea.
So I guess the question is, what will the depth be?
That's what the cross-section shows.
It's not dimensional, yeah.
But
Since you
how-
asked.
If I
it
could chime
shows,
in, Matt,
Oh,
It
someone-
slopes from 12 inches at one end to 36 inches at the high end.
Can we use what is existing as a comparison?
I think, I heard someone say online,
Hi, Madam Chair. This is Andrew Kotchin from Workshop. We're the architecture firm on this, and very strategically came up with this idea about a year ago and did our homework before we pursued it to ensure that doing the basement below grade was going to be considered pervious surface. We would have never advanced the project this far through both HDC and to initially the planning board and to the ZBA if it wasn't confirmed with folks in the town and with engineers that work in the Northeast and encounter these things all the time. So it needs to be at least 12 inches of soil to be considered pervious, which that's what we have at a minimum. It then slopes down, you can see in the section, I don't believe it gets to 36 inches. At the end, it might ultimately get to about 24 to 30, depending on how our final grades work out on site.
Could you put that plan back up, Bill? I think it does. See on the right.
It says 14, 12 to 14 on that side. Oh yeah, you're right, Sarah, 30 to 36.
12 to
Yep.
14 and 30 to 36 on the right.
Fascinating.
okay. And that will be more, and that is, I guess, to preserve that, we would want that mentioned in the decision, that there will be that level of
Yeah,
soil.
that can absolutely be a condition.
Yeah, right, okay. Is there anyone in the audience who wanted to speak on this one, either online or in person?
Can I ask another question
sure.
too, if there isn't
Yep,
anybody?
he's coming, so you can ask it now.
I mean, I also think this is a great concept. I love the idea of it, but I do have an issue with the manipulation of the grade dramatically to allow this. And I guess I'm trying to understand, when you look at the cross-section, what keeps people from falling into this? What's not a retaining wall, but it's a steel wall. I'm not really sure what the difference is. Falling into that pit. Will there be any vertical fencing at 36 inches or 42 inches that is not something you typically see in that landscape?
Lisa, I can address that if you want.
Sure.
Okay, sure.
So the walls were about 3 weeks ago, they were more typical retaining walls that would have been about 12 inches wide and increased our impervious surface on the site. We then went back after hearing the last month's meeting and realized, boy, we better make some amendments to that, as Sarah articulated early in her presentation, to reduce our impervious surface. And so what we're proposing to do, and we've done it before, is we're doing 1 inch thick Corten steel walls that essentially have 1/5 or 1/10 the amount of area that a concrete wall would have had from impervious surface, that will go down into the grade, far below the surface area and connect and be a retaining wall. We additionally have fencing that was all approved by HDC through many discussions that create code compliant conditions around all of those terraced walls and anything. So, and we very much scrutinized that to make sure they were minimizing the landscape. We originally had sheets of glass. I didn't like that. So we now have sort of Corten wire steel fencing that will disappear in the landscape. We did several renderings demonstrating how the visibility from this, from any public way or really any neighbor, is very minimal, if impossible to see. And that's how we ended up there. So all of that had been satisfied by the other boards.
Okay, thank you. So it's still, you are still retaining earth, though?
Absolutely, Lisa, 100%.
Technicality that it's not a retaining wall.
No, it is absolutely still a retaining wall. It just does not create as thick a surface condition to increase impervious area.
Understood.
Okay. Emily?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Emily Molden with the Nantucket Land and Water Council. Just a few comments. Certainly, I appreciate seeing the reduction in impervious surfaces that have come through before this meeting at this site. Also would just acknowledge and point out that there, as I did with the previous application, that there is still an increase in the size of the dwelling that's being redeveloped on the property, just over 100 square feet, I think the applicant mentioned. And then I certainly recognize that from a visual standpoint and scenic standpoint, that a lot of the sort of massing of the structure here is hidden by being below grade. I would just kind of echo or maybe raise the concern around that, just as far as if it sets a precedent and where that could go with other properties out in this area, as far as the ability to sort of change and manipulate the landscape below grade without it necessarily being counted per se as square footage. So just a question and concern to put to the board for your consideration. And then I did want to just confirm, I think I was following the discussion about the location of the septics, but again, if there's any opportunity for that to move into more of the disturbed lawn area than it's currently proposed with the appropriate setbacks. And then finally, just to follow up with some of the additional conditions that the board had discussed on the previous MMD application regarding revegetation of the area, and if that could be limited to an annual mowing as far as ongoing maintenance. Also, the no topsoil from offsite, I think were the two that I had really wanted to bring to your attention, and those are our concerns at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. I had marked the number 8 condition on this list to change it to get rid of to the extent available for the topsoil as well. And what?
May I ask Sarah Alger clarification on something? Sarah, you said there's an existing, we'll just call it a tunnel, connecting the two dwellings right now.
No.
Oh, there's not?
No, this is
Oh,
new.
oh, okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that. But it doesn't exist now in the way, so,
Right now we
okay,
have what I guess I would consider a more traditional house, one solid mass
got it.
with no
I thought,
underground
Got it.
connecting to anything.
yep. Okay, I misunderstood, sorry. I still like it.
Do you have a comment? Yeah. Just identify yourself again for this application.
Thomas Barrett of 39 West Maya Comet. In the previous application, they had a generator that was actually put under the shed. This plan shows a generator pad. Can we request that we get that put under the shed like the other one with a low decibel? That's one thing. That way, you know, we don't have to hear it, considering sound travels out there.
Where's the pad? Oh, over here by the shed.
Yeah, it's over by the shed there, right? Yep.
Can we put that under the shed?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah,
other
so that's one thing. The other thing is I know that they're doing this, you know, lanai patio, you know, subterranean patio and all that. One of the concerns that we have out there is the light pollution that's going to be coming from that, because that patio has an 18-foot wide by 8-foot tall accordion patio door that got approved through HDC. And HDC said it wasn't their purview, it was actually the planning board's purview, because it falls under them for the special permit, which then got rolled over to you. Also, the main building has, I believe, 4-foot wide by 6-foot tall custom windows and doors. So there's going to be a lot of light pollution coming out of that house. Now, I just got out of a builders association meeting in regard to dark skies and all that, and I know that we can't regulate interior lighting and whatnot, but we can try to regulate the exterior lighting. And the fact that HDC and planning says that, you know, that subterranean area falls under your purview and not them, I wanted to bring it to your attention that that light is going to shine straight up into the sky. I did try to reach out to Linda Loring's group in regard to this, but they won't touch any of this stuff because it's politically incorrect for them to convey any concerns they have, because it would go against their fundraising abilities. So basically, it's just kind of, you know, everything's in your hands in regard to this. So we're gonna have a lot of light pollution from that house, the noise pollution, which you guys can protect because of the generator and all that. Also, the other thing is, I agree with Emily in regard to the structures of having two masses connected by a basement. I mean, you know, that's the new thing now. So technically, theoretically, I could have a 10,000-foot basement and a 1,500 square foot house above it. So what would stop me from doing that in the future if I didn't have to go to ZBA or to the planning for it? I mean, just imagine what it opens up a can of worms. So, you know, you guys might want to start thinking about that for town meeting, for addressing for zoning housekeeping, as we call it here. So I just wanted to raise those concerns and whatnot. So thank you.
Can I ask you a question of the
Okay,
applicant?
thank you. Yep, Lisa.
But I'm gonna call it a tunnel, is included in the ground cover calculation.
No.
Because it's underground.
Oh, I don't know.
Can I?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I just want to address the glazing and light pollution. We submitted with our application, I don't know if you can pull it up.
I can share it.
Significant, maybe you should run through that, Andrew, if you don't
Yeah.
mind.
So a few things, just a point of clarification. One is we're more than happy to move the generator below the shed. That's a very reasonable request, and we're absolutely willing to do that. The HDC did not refer the below ground glazing to the planning board / ZBA. They felt that based on the application we made, we went back and we changed our glazing to turtle glass, which emits 50% less light pollution when the lights are on in the evening. And therefore, if I just go to the landscape plan, the fact that there's planting vegetation around this well and that it is sunken down, I think it's a pretty significant exaggeration to suggest that below grade glazing is going to create an enormous amount of light pollution in the area. But based on that fact, we actually chose to do quite an intensive study of all of the homes in the MMD in this area about the amount of glazing that they have on them in relation to the design that is proposed on our structure. And what we determined was that our glazing at 21% on the structure was the lowest of every single house in the area in total. We even went so far as to do evening renderings that show the extensive amount of light pollution that's coming from some of the much larger masses that exist in this context, creating a very different effect of light in the area. So I think we should just try to level set when folks make statements about things that are just not true and not proven, where we've actually aggregated the data, created renderings to show, again, part of your packet to show how extensive all of the other houses are, where our house down here with the window well that you can't even see at night, it doesn't create a condition that is adverse to the neighborhood. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online that had anything to say? Joe, do you have any
No
comments
hands
on
are
this one?
online.
John? Jim? No. All right, Lisa and Elisa, do you guys have any more questions? Okay. So these are the additional conditions that we've talked about so far. There are conditions listed in the staff report to mimic the application that went before this. For condition 8, remove to the extent available and just say all topsoil and fill used on the property shall be from the spoils of any on-site excavation or disturbance and shall other, I think we get rid of the "and" shall otherwise be screened materials, correct? Right?
Yeah, it's either fill or it's topsoil.
Yeah, okay. And that the generator shall, the generator shall be located below grade under the shed. Is it gonna go under the shed or in the shed?
Doesn't matter.
Under.
Okay. Under the shed, the generator will be compliant with applicable noise limitations in the town code.
If it could also show access to that space on the plan.
Probably be through the floor
I
of the
thought-
shed, I would
Yeah,
guess.
okay.
I don't want to.
It will be a hatch inside the shed,
Okay.
not exterior to the shed.
Hatch in the shed, okay. There'll be a condition that mentions the 12 to 36 inch of topsoil will be maintained over the subterranean portion to retain the pervious status. The septic system and the disturbed area will be allowed to renaturalize on the condition it's mowed only once a year. And there is a condition in here about all exterior landscape lighting shall be directed away from the undisturbed areas to the east and north and shall be in compliance with Chapter 102 of the Code of the Town of Nantucket, the so-called dark skies bylaw. Does anyone have any more additions to this? Okay. Seeing no other comments, would someone want to make a motion on this one? Sorry, close the public hearing, sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so this motion is to close the public hearing. Sorry, did you make the motion, John?
I did.
All right, so John,
Aye.
Elisa,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
myself. Aye, sorry.
You're waiting for your second.
Yep. And Lisa, since you participated in the discussion, Lisa. Oh my God, long week. Okay, so I read the conditions that I saw that we augmented and added. Did anyone, who would like to make that motion?
I will.
I'll second it.
You want to say what the motion is?
Oh, the motion is to approve with the conditions that you just listed.
And I'll second that motion.
Thank you. All right.
I assumed that one.
Okay, so a yes vote will approve the relief as requested with the conditions and the plan as shown. Elisa?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Myself, aye, and Lisa?
No.
Okay. All right, so that carries 4-1. Okay. Yep, the next application is,
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, who made the motion and seconded that last
Elisa
one?
made the motion, John seconded
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
The next application is 6 Westover. I am recused from this, and John is recused from this. So Elisa has the floor.
Of course, I don't have my little notes. Did you? 332. Oh, this is gonna be the lowbrow version of your,
Yeah.
In your memo. I think it's like 13.
okay?
Yeah, I know. Oh,
Yes.
Oh,
turn that around.
Yeah. 1350, yeah, that's.
Throw the pages on.
next application is going to be 23-24, CBR ACK Holdings LLC, 6 West Dover Street, represented by Mr. Cohen.
So, Madam Chair, this was actually Jennifer Cohen took this over.
Oh, I see.
I don't see her online. I don't see her in the crowd.
Okay, I assumed. Then, who, may I ask who will be representing? Is anyone on the phone or?
I don't see anyone
Need to
on here.
continue it then?
Oh.
Until maybe, should we go to the next application and circle back? See if they show?
We could try that.
Somebody want?
This was another
call the
one that I had
Cohens?
an extension out to the end of November because it's been sitting dormant for months on end. So,
But then will expire by the time,
November 30th if we don't have a extension. So, I mean, the applicant should have been aware that they were on the agenda today, and this puts the board in a fairly precarious position.
okay, do you want to, what's,
We could switch, we could move forward to 8 Bank for now. I can try to reach out to them.
yeah,
Okay.
let's, okay, so do I need to make a motion to just delay it one application, or can we just
And
agree?
I
No?
think we can just,
Okay, we're gonna
let's move
delay
on. We
this.
haven't closed it or anything. No one seems to be in here for it. No, I mean, the applicant's not here.
So
Let's move to 8 Bank and
let's
come
move
back to it.
8 Bank. Does anybody disagree with that? Anyone?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Then I would like to continue this until after our next application today.
Yeah, just hold it for now. We're gonna move on to 8 Bank.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Don Bracken, Bracken Engineering. This is actually Linda's project. I texted her, let her know it was coming up, so
No.
I'm here to support her for the project. That's why I'm
Are
up here
we,
to let you
are
know.
you for here for Bank Street?
I
you
am
mean?
for Bank
Oh,
Street.
yeah, then we need
Okay.
to get.
But not for the full presentation. She's not here either. I sent her a
Let's
text
go home.
when I saw the one previous.
Do we need to get Susan and John back, though?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me run out there.
Thank
I
you.
think she's next door. I could run over and see if I can find her.
Linda had called me earlier. She has Concom, but I don't think Concom's on until like 4 or 5
4 o'clock, yeah.
We're in a holding pattern.
Is that possible? God, that's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
Has abandoned a request for a full basement to the health department's variance approval, which offers a slab and grade foundation for a one-bedroom dwelling. I don't think they're.
Maybe it's your.
Maybe it's in here. the surveyor used to be Jeff Blackwell, now they have Don, maybe he came up with a way of doing it in there. This is a Blackwell plan. So there's no lift involved anymore before, yeah, where they have to worry about stabilizing the bank. There is a tiny bit, just a little bit, but that's something we routinely approve. I don't know what.
Linda, you are now on as a panelist. I don't know where we stand because I've been out in the hall. What are we doing?
Oh, are we waiting?
All right, I'm here. And Don Bracken's on his way back over there.
John is recusing from this one. Let me grab Susan.
Okay. Or Lisa can.
Well, how many members do we have left then?
No, we're going to Bank Street.
I didn't expect it to come up this quickly. I've got 18 old business applications I'm trying to get straightened out here.
We are moving along.
18.
Didn't I? It was a short-lived career.
Scared them all away.
All right, so moving on to, oh, yeah, Yep, yep. Or you can keep it, or I can keep it in my folder, so then you have it. Yeah. All right, so now we are moving on to 2824, Christina and Nicholas Amendolare, 8 Bank Street, Linda Williams for the applicant. And Linda, you're on Zoom?
I have to be. I've got 18 old business applications over here sitting on the table at the other building. I know Don Bracken is here and John Amendolari is here, and I know Christie's, I believe, on Zoom, though from my vantage point, I can't see who's on Zoom.
Christy is on Zoom. Do you need her moved over?
Yeah. And I believe John Amendolari is in the audience, and I know Don Bracken's in the audience to talk about the foundation part of it.
Okay, so do you want to do your part of it first? Or do you
Yeah.
want to have?
I'll just run through it really quickly. It was pretty self-explanatory in the application. We've applied for exactly what the Board of Health gave us permission to do, which is a slab foundation. And they've signed off on it. Don Bracken can answer questions about that process. And so it's pretty much as it was before, above ground. That small, tiny little triangle piece over in the corner on a one-story piece is coming up, so there can be some headroom in there. I guess we're waiting for the plan. Most of you are familiar with it already. It's about a 2 square foot area that's in the setback. It's grandfathered. There we go. You can see the tiny little piece there shaded where he's got the cursor going around it. And that's it. So we're coming back in to you for exactly what the HDC approved the first go around.
That's minus the basement, correct, Linda?
Yep, minus the basement, just a slab foundation. They approved, the Board of Health approved that, and Don can speak to that if you have questions about that.
On slab. Can I ask one other question? Just.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the old plans in here.
Yep.
Is the building relative to grade going to remain as drawn on these plans? Meaning there's like a 3-inch step up into the building?
More than likely,
Visibility
because you
being
have to put a
elevated.
slab under it. It's sitting on the ground now. It's, we're putting a slab under it to stabilize the sills. That's it. It's not doing anything else other than what the HDC approved.
Okay, again, so it's not getting any taller other than the architectural changes you're making.
Yeah, and other than the 6-inch, 8-inch pour.
You mean the 4-inch slab?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The first
the
floor.
existing floor height is not changing.
There is an expansion onto the second floor to put the bedroom on the second floor. Yeah, so take a look at the HDC plans. I don't want to tell you it's not changing, but it's whatever the HDC approved is exactly what's going to be built. We already have construction documents verifying that that is possible.
So yeah, I just want, can I clarify one other HGC thing? On page 405 of our packet, it shows another dotted portion to a building. I assume that was a previous HGC submission, and the hard line is what was approved, correct?
Where are we on 405 yet?
This dotted ridge and this. It was on the west, page 405. You see that where the skylights are? Up there? Yeah, what is that?
Chrissy can talk about that.
Just want to make sure I'm understanding what's happening. I think that must have been what they had submitted before and then made revisions.
Yeah, they're reducing the total height by like a foot, even though we're coming up out of the dirt. So I believe that was part of the original structure.
The dotted, hi, this is Christy. The dotted lines indicate that was the original plan, and the roof line was reduced by 30%, and the height was reduced as well. And the final height of the house is 19 feet, which is at elevation 37.
They had come in with a different design first, and then it mutated.
Yeah, okay. I think that's what the dotted line denotes, is the original design.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
So the finding is generally not substantially more detrimental to raise that small triangular section. Otherwise, it conforms to ground, it conforms to setbacks. And that one triangular piece of property there.
Lynn, or John, is there any issue with the wall along?
No, there's no impact on the wall because we're not doing a full foundation anymore.
Okay.
I know you said that the Board of Health approved, but you've worked out all your septic issues.
Yep. And when we get an approval here, there's going to be an agreement signed with the Board of Health about the 1-bedroom. So there's other things that are being triggered after you guys approve it and I file the decision.
Can we let Don Bracken talk? Because
Yes,
it might
Don, can
answer some
you,
questions.
can you help us
First thing I'd
explain
like
to us what's
point out,
happening?
the elevation of the slab, we anticipate the slab elevation is going to match the first floor. So the new slab will take the place of the first floor. You know, there may be another 2x added on the wall when they lift it up. So it might come up 1.5 inches or something for that.
On the flat.
Yeah, on the flat. I
Yeah.
mean, it's sitting on the ground the way it is. The floor system is probably 6 or 8 inches deep as it is. As you know, the Board of Health did approve it. We got a variance to the between the structure and the septic tank. We did need a variance between the structure and the trench when we converted to a slab. We meet that requirement. The only thing about the Board of Health is that we're going back again next meeting to ask for modification in their approval. There was a glitch online, we couldn't type online, and one of the conditions of their approval was to put in an IA tank. And so we're going back to ask them to reconsider that, but we don't think it's needed in this location. If they give it to us, great. If they don't, then we'll end up having to do what they conditioned on the first approval. So there will be, at least a 36-inch excavation to get the frost wall below the slab. So there will be some excavation work, but obviously nothing like what was proposed originally.
question.
Joe, did you have a question?
Yeah, so no floodplain problems, Don?
No, this is out of floodplain.
And did you ever consider tight tank?
Yes, we did, actually. That was going to be our alternative, but the way the Board
Don't
of
need
Health
it?
regulations and state regulations are structured, you can't do it unless you have no other alternative. So
Thank you.
they're willing to accept this.
Madam Chair. So you just mentioned a 36-inch digging into that, the ground, the
bank.
the embankment, yeah,
Well, just off the base of the embankment to get the footing in.
36 inches
About
down.
36 inches, yeah, because the grade is kind of higher there.
Yeah.
And the foundation's getting stepped up on that higher side,
Yeah.
so that grade will stay the same as what's there now.
Okay, so I guess overall, and you remember, our biggest concern was disturbing that footpath that runs above it. And we've all walked it before, I'm sure everybody has. That is not going to be impacted at all with any construction. Oh,
No.
and is this, it's getting torn down completely and rebuilt, right? Or were they adding on to what's existing?
They're adding on, yeah, so they're gonna maintain the existing structure, so. They'll obviously have to lift it up, put the slab underneath it.
Yeah.
Like I said, may have to add another plate and then drop it back down.
So the framing of the structure is, you've determined, okay to build upon and go higher on top?
I haven't myself. I would assume that between the architect and the structural engineer for the project, who
Okay.
I'm not, has looked at that. Maybe Christie can answer that.
The structural engineer, just to chime in there, because I can't really hear all of you, is, they've done the construction documents and they can do it.
Okay.
Practically speaking, they're gonna, the building's gonna be brand new. I mean,
Yeah.
given the shape that it is now, there's no way that they can maintain all these walls.
With old 2x4s.
Well, and, they're adding a floor system, and the eave height doesn't look like it's high enough to
And I'm sure they're
to
gonna wanna-
support the floor system. This
Yeah.
wall's gonna be new. It's
It's gonna be
build.
new.
So,
And how did that go through the HDC? Linda, did that go through as a new structure or as a renovation?
Well, given the breadth and scope of what they've said we can do to this structure, they acknowledge that a lot of it's going to be removed because the addition on the north sort of wipes out the north wall. The raising of it, that slight raise of it on that small triangular section is, obviously, that's going to change the roof pitch there. So a substantial amount of it's remaining because it has to, basically. But other than that, a lot of it's going to change because they approved it to change.
Right.
Linda,
But it's not over ground cover and it's not in violation of any setbacks except for that one corner.
And
That's why we can't remove that southern end.
so they're going to suspend the structure, this existing structure, in the air while they pour the slab and then move it back on top of the slab, is the idea. I'm just trying to
Well, I
visualize
don't like to
how
get
it's
into
gonna happen.
methodology. I don't get into methodology, and the ZBA doesn't have any jurisdiction over methodology. Somebody with a higher degree of intelligence than us is going to handle this.
I guess I'm wondering if it's going to block that path. I guess some people look at that as an emergency, access path, footpath.
It wouldn't block the path. It would move the other direction away from the bank. If it has to move off-site, it will move out and then back. It won't move anywhere near to block that thing, and we couldn't do it without town approval anyway.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, could I?
Yeah, and then I have a question. Go ahead, Jim.
Linda, I just want to confirm, so the existing encroachment is not going to change?
No, it's going to be exactly the same footprint and stay there. It's just going up a couple of inches in that section.
Okay, and that's why you're before us.
Yeah, because if it didn't pre-exist non-conform over there in that corner, we wouldn't be in here at all. Period.
Linda, did you give us, and maybe I'm just not seeing it, but did we get the certificate of appropriateness for this?
We have
Yeah.
the drawings, I don't know if we have.
Because the minute, I was looking at the minutes just to see when you were saying, how did the HDC application go through? And the minutes that I have just says hold for revisions.
I, because of Ray being the chair at the time, I can,
Actually, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt. They did get an approval, and that is
did.
currently under an appeal.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
There was some confusion about the vote because a couple people abstained, so they only had a 3-member board, so they got 2 votes. and
Oh,
one
right,
against.
motion to
was
approve, not
confusing.
carried, 2-2, Coombs and Camp abstain, right. Motion to hold for revisions, carried 4-0, because it does not seem to me, looking at these minutes, that the HDC was super supportive of this project.
Madam Chair, can I
Yeah.
throw one caveat in here? We are in court. The next court date is January. They have sent us back in here to the ZBA to get an approval for exactly what the HDC approved and nothing more. So that's why we're here right now, and the timing is kind of critical because they want this decision filed and 20-day appeal period run before we go back into court in January. But that's why we're back here for exactly what the HDC approved and no more, and no foundation underneath
Well,
it,
the
no
HDC,
basement.
it doesn't look like they did approve it, but I certainly don't want to, we typically wouldn't, if we wouldn't approve without seeing we wouldn't approve without seeing the HDC approval.
The HCC did approve it, and town council, they appealed it to the Board of Selectmen, or Select Board, and the Select Board upheld the approval, and they appealed the Select Board's approval under town council and precedent, I guess, some sort of legal precedent. The 2 members, the 4
Who
members that
appealed it,
sat,
the HDC?
no, the neighbors, the 4
Oh, the
members,
neighbors, okay.
they were upheld. The HCC's approval for this plan was upheld. The neighbors didn't like that decision. They appealed it to Superior Court. Now, under town council said, there is an opinion, I believe, somewhere in this file or in the previous file. Town council clearly stated, and I've checked it and they just went over it at the open meeting law seminar, that abstention still means that you are present. If you recuse, you are not voting and you're not present at the table. So 2 members voted in favor of it. They thought it was a completely appropriate design, given how minimally it was going to change the actual aspect of the structure. And 2 members abstained. They did not recuse. So in essence, he said that the 2 members that voted in favor of it was the majority in favor. And that's how that got done. So then the neighbors appealed it. They still don't like the project, and they appealed it to the Select Board. The Select Board, through town council advice as well, upheld the HDC's approval with those 2 members, and 2 recused and 2 abstained. And they didn't like that either, and they have appealed that to Superior Court. Now, Superior Court is looking for a ZBA decision that validates exactly what the HDC previously approved and no basement. So that's why we had to come back with exactly what the HDC approved.
There is a COA referenced in the addendum.
Yeah.
COA 2021-5-05-3626.
Oh, because it
Which is in the previous files. It's everywhere.
It said HDC COA and minutes are attached, but I don't see the COA, I just see the minutes.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was in the file. I don't know where it went from there.
You don't know where it went?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who types the addendum, isn't it?
Let me see.
It's right here.
Yeah, I have the addendum, thank you. So you think it's in the old file?
Oh, yeah, I know it's in the old file, and it was in this file because we copied the old file and
have
put
the
it in
old
this
file.
file.
Go right through it. Well, because we had said.
Because it was a hand-drawn
we had
thing
voted
by
that they
Angus.
would do without prejudice, and the vote was that they were going to reapply in November 2023 with no basement and no change to the foundation, and an application/relief requested will be limited to only the corner change that triggers the ZBA review or need for relief. And that vote passed 4-0 with Lisa, Elisa, Michael, and myself voting.
Madam Chair,
Exactly.
Yeah.
These were part of the file. The cover page might not be on there, but whenever whenever you have stamped site plans or
I
elevations from
saw
the
those.
HDC.
Yeah, I saw those. I was just curious to see the
COA.
COA. But that's okay.
Well, the COA is now on hold because of the appeal from the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
The actual page.
I think it's interesting to see how it was applied for, though, maybe. Is that why you want to see it?
Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Special, just
Can
to,
I ask
just to
a-
make
can I
sure,
ask
like,
a
'cause
question,
she keeps
Madam
saying,
Chair?
like, what?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Linda, you said they want to see a ZBA approval that matches the HDC. Who's they?
Court. Superior Court.
Madam Chair, I think if we just reference that HDC approval as a condition and tie it to that, I don't
Yeah, but
Absolutely.
I just don't know. I mean, it's in appeal, so if the neighbors win, I just don't, I think I guess the only thing that I'm trying to think through is, can we grant the relief to just allow that corner highlighted part to remain in the setback?
And not to go up?
No,
It's
well, I
raising.
guess it could, I don't know. I guess it could go up.
You
I
can,
just-
Madam Chair,
That's what I'm getting.
Madam Chair,
What's been.
you can tie it to the, you can tie it to the COA.
Jim's talking. Hold on. Go ahead, Jim, sorry.
With what's been approved, even though it's being challenged, you know, in my view, that we're still just focusing on that encroachment. And, you know, I think it falls within a category that we can approve. That's my feeling.
May I just comment? I do not understand why the applicant, with all of this whole chance to redo, did not just delete that one area that is within our purview. Why didn't they eliminate that so that we are not in this situation and they are not in this situation?
Right.
They've eliminated the whole basement. If it's just such a little corner, redesign the structure so it's out of it. What's in that corner that's so important that you're willing to sacrifice the whole project over that little corner that that puts it in front of the zoning board?
We
I'll
asked
tell you
that
why.
before. There's a reason for it.
There is a reason for it.
Well, go talk. Who are you?
Hold on. So, would you just identify yourself for the video?
Sure. I'm John Byers, 7 Meeting House Lane. I'm not one of the litigators. I'm not a butter, but I'm cognizant. I've been following the process very carefully throughout the whole course because it's a mess. And frankly, I think they have that corner included so that you stamp it and give them some ammo in their next hearing at the with the previous group that they passed this through. So
Really?
I don't know.
No.
But it doesn't seem like the
No.
right time to be putting this in front of you.
I tend to agree. Why can't we wait until the court makes their decision?
Because they won't make a decision unless we come back here to get it validated that we're only going to build exactly what the HDC approved. That's why.
But aren't they
This came up at
challenging
the
the
court hearing.
approval? Or am I missing
No.
the point?
You're missing the point. We need your approval.
Thank you.
So the judge is comfortable with the fact that we're only doing what the HDC approved. They spent hours talking about that in court.
Did you
That's why
provide
they
us,
want to know
I didn't
that.
see, do you have do you have a ruling from the judge or anything saying that that's what needs to
We're
happen?
waiting for that in January. It's coming back up in January
Yeah,
again,
who's the
which is why there was
like-
such an impetus.
What judge ordered us that they need the zoning board to rule before their rule?
He didn't order it. It was part of the discussion at the hearing, that everybody was screaming and yelling that we're not going to build exactly what the HDC approved. And that's why we have to validate that we're building exactly what the HDC approved. And we still need your
I don't
relief
think
to
there's
do
a COA
that.
in the application from last time either, Linda.
I have a question. How could you build anything but what the HGC approved without going back to the HGC?
That's good question. That's why we're not taking that corner off, because if we go back to the HDC, this is going to start litigation all over again. Because they don't care about anything else. They don't like the project. They don't want it changed. And they'll come after us again, going back to the HDC to get rid of the corner. It's a very small structure. And if we cut that corner off, it's going to have an impact on the interior, number one. Number two, it's going to make it a lot smaller and it's going to have some wackadoodle angle on it. And I don't know if they're going to go there either. So we have an approval. They stood by the approval. The select board upheld the approval. And that's where
Hold
we
on a
are.
minute, Linda. Hold on. Yes, Joe.
Shouldn't the HDC have sent them here first? No. Before,
Well, no, I mean, it's kind of a chicken and an egg thing, but typically we want to see the approval from the HDC.
wouldn't the HDC have said, well, why are we going to act on it
Well, they don't.
if you can't get your zoning approval?
They don't really look at the zoning, though. Billy,
Madam
you
Chair.
don't want to speak?
I said, can I please speak?
Yes, please, but I think maybe we should continue this.
We can. We also have a hand online that's been up for a
Madam Chair, can
while.
I just, it kind of relates to the conversation on this.
Yeah.
I think that's our custom, but we're two adjudicatory boards that we don't,
Here's,
we don't,
please all read
don't
the
have
highlighted
to.
portion behind you.
we don't have to, what is this, Billy? I don't know.
This
Just
is
interrupt.
from the town committee handbook, which you all acknowledge that you've received and read when you join a board or committee in Nantucket.
Yes, and this is, are you backing me up or you just jumped in from me?
Up. The
So that-
HDC, the ZBA cannot make decisions based on anything that's within the HDC's purview, Concom's purview, Health Department's purview, and likewise, they can't do the same.
And this has been the rub, the whole time on this, is that we're being diverted on other issues, but really, it's the setback with the encroachment, and that's it.
That's it.
And if we're not gonna decide which way that litigation's gonna go. If they have to go back, then it comes back through us because we made it contingent upon our decision on whatever this recent approval is. I think we waste a lot of time here on this particular case.
Okay, so let's go to the hands online.
And I think we technically have till 3:30, but I'm here next at planning board 4.
Yeah, I
I'd
think-
say we can have about 8 to 13 minutes or so, go
Okay.
till
Well,
about
So
3:45.
hold on, just before, who do we have online who wants to speak? Is it the applicant?
We have an abutter.
Okay.
Take public comments.
Yep,
those.
so, can you let them speak and I'm gonna have to limit comments to 2 minutes, I think, going forward, right? If we still have to deal with the Westover one too? Or that just won't open?
We will need to continue that. I got a text, the applicant's attorney has COVID, so they have agreed through text to do a extension.
Did they think to let us know that they weren't showing up?
Apparently not, because I
Awesome.
didn't find out till about 10 minutes ago.
Great, okay.
And the battery on my computer is dying.
Okay, so my only concern about this was that it's in litigation, but whatever. So if the abutter wants to speak.
Margaret, you're unmuted.
Okay, thank you. Margaret Van Duzen, 7 Front Street, which is across Middle Gully from 8 Bank Street. And as you now have discussed, the case is in Superior Court challenging the legality of the certificate that was issued by the Plus staff. And my sisters and I are plaintiffs in that case, along with 4 other neighbors. But at the court hearing on October 1st, I'm an attorney, I was in court. At that time, the Amendalore's attorney represented that there were new plans that had been designed. And so that the plans in front of you are the original plans, which show windows for a basement, as you can see on the west side. And I think it's reasonable that the ZBA should have the plans in front of them that their attorney represented in court were in fact new plans. And nothing I heard in court from the judge said, oh, go back to the ZBA and get the old plans approved. So Linda, I think that's just false. And I think that's in and of itself that you should have up-to-date plans in front of you before you make a decision on this case. The other two reasons I would suggest procedurally for why this should carry over for some period of time is that the motions that were heard on October 1st in court are dispositive summary judgment motions. And if the plaintiffs prevail, the end result will be an annulment of the certificate. So it's really premature, I would suggest, for the ZBA to be considering it at this point when those motions are under advisement. And lastly, I would say procedurally, another reason why you should not reach it today is that when the Board of Health granted the variance for the slab foundation and put the two conditions out there, you've now heard Mr. Bracken say he's going to go back and ask one of those conditions be changed. But the other condition, obviously, was to put a one-bedroom restriction on this property, and that hasn't happened. So while I know applicants jigger the process to their advantage, here I think there are three good reasons why you shouldn't be entertaining this today. Thank you. And I guess I'd just like to reserve on the merits of why you should deny this and instead just use the minutes, which I know are now up, on the procedural issues here.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
We have one more hand in the public, and Miss Williams has her hand. If you want to take them, you can. We do need to continue this, and we also will need
Okay.
to continue 6 Westover.
I think that we, in the interest of time, I think we need to continue and because we were supposed to be done 10 minutes ago.
I don't think we should continue. but
Madam Chair, Madam Chair,
Well,
while
still-
something's on the table, can I just correct the record?
Wait, all right,
Madam
hold on.
Chair.
Jim is speaking, Linda, you're speaking, and Elisa is speaking, so hold on. All right. For time constraints, it is now 3:37, and we were supposed to be done 7 minutes ago. We are not going to have time to discuss this and deliberate, and there's still people wanting to speak. So I think that this should be continued. Elisa, you have one thing, Jim, you have one thing, and then we should entertain a motion to continue.
Okay, very quick question. The window wells shown on the plans, they go away, is that true?
They're existing.
Right, so are the
Yes.
window wells no longer proposed to be built because it's on slab? Window wells gone, correct?
They're existing.
Yeah, the plans,
Linda? Are the window wells existing or are they deleted now that it's a slab foundation?
yeah.
Christie.
But they don't encroach on anything from our perspective.
How are you having
Well,
window?
it does actually
there's-
encroach
Because
in
those are
this
for the,
sliver.
those are for
Okay,
the
so
first
again,
floor.
these are things we need to discuss next time, so we have to wrap it up.
Thank you.
So would someone make a motion to continue this to the December 14th meeting?
12th.
12th meeting, sorry.
I'll second it.
Okay, so, let's see, so, Michael, Joe,
Aye.
Elisa,
Aye.
myself, I, and Jim.
Aye.
Okay, so that will continue till next meeting.
And we should go back to 6
then
Westover and
I'm gonna
continue
step
that as
away,
well.
so you guys can figure out what you guys want to discuss.
Wait, I don't want
What are we doing?
We need to continue. I have verification to December 12th.
To 6 Westover?
6 Westover. I have
Okay.
verification that they will sign the extension. I have written verification that they'll sign the extension.
Okay. So I would like to go back to application, excuse me, sorry. 22-24 CBR ACK Holdings LLC for 6 Westover Street. Yes. Excuse me, 23, you're right. I apologize, I misspoke. For 6 West Dover Street, we are going to continue that application until December 12th
I'll make
meeting.
that motion.
I'll second.
Motion, second. I'll take roll call on that. Michael? Joe?
Aye.
That's unbelievable.
Lisa?
Aye.
Aye. Elisa? We are in favor of that, and we will continue it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion to adjourn, second. Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay, wait a minute, I've lost half the things
Thanks,
I wanted to
everyone.
save.
Thank you, Billy.
I've lost all the pages I wanted to
You
save.
motion to adjourn.
No,
if
no,
Jim
no, no.
seconded?
I keep putting it in with the other stuff I'm gonna
A lot
throw
of
away.
papers everywhere.
I pulled this out, which was
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. You can throw that, that can go in that pile. Yeah, I don't need any of this. I was just trying to keep my notes.
All right, Billy, do you? Billy, do you want us to save any of this? No, because you want us to save the Surfside Crossing stuff. I do need one. Sorry.
I've already started. My next packet's gonna be supplement number 1.
Okay.
It's gonna be all the additional information, because it's,
Okay.
the original is like 1,300 pages. Three copies here?
Yes,
Do you
please,
need a
but
new
then
one?
I promise I will
Do you
not.
have your
put up.
5?
I think so, yeah.
All right.
Let me check my file.
Just email me, because I can easily print whatever's needed for you before Wednesday.
Thank you.
I just don't wanna keep printing the 1,500 plus.
No, I agree.
I get it.
But all
I
this
don't have
stuff, are
any-
you gonna, we don't need to keep any of this from today then?
No, this is, and these 2 items for the S&P stuff was like 400 of the 560 pages.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, I'm getting out of your way. I'm getting out of
Oh,
here.
okay.